Hello everyone, Caroline here. In today's video, I want to share how I created the violin and the guitar that I used here for my cards with the die and stamp set from the June Papercraft Society Box. This box includes a huge die set and a stamp set. Here you can see the die set and here's the stamp set. And now let's get started. I'm starting out with my violin and I'm showing you here which parts I cut out. I cut one wood, one piece out of the wood textured paper and one black. And then the neck out of black cardstock. And then I have those two little holes, which I'm going to use later. Then I have this little end piece here. And I cut this again out of black. And then I'm having this little bridge piece, which is teeny tiny. And then the bow, which I cut out twice, and also the chin rest. So then I have to add the stamp from the stamp set that looks like this. That's the strings, and I'm just placing it here so I don't lose it. So here I'm starting out, I'm using this body with the wood frame texture, and I'm just adding the medium brown that comes in the kit, and I'm adding it all around this body to give it more dimension. And then here is the tricky part. I'm using these two holes dies, and I'm making sure I'm attaching it right in the middle, and I'm using removable tape for this, and they have to be kind of like mirrored and very close to the edge of the violin before I put this into my die cutting machine. So when that's die cut, it needs to look kind of like this. And then I'm taping my body piece with liquid glue to my wood pattern paper here. Now the bottom part has a little holder attached, which I'm cutting off. It's when you want to make a cello, and I'm adding it to the right in the middle on the bottom of the violin, as you can see here. And I'm using kind of my cutting mat to make sure it's in the middle. And then I'm adding my neck to the top, and this the neck gonna be it's placed kind of really almost at the top of those two holes. And then I'm adding some ink to my headpiece here, to the tuning pins. And this will be attached with liquid glue to the back of the neck. So all you can see is the head, the scroll, and the four tuning pins. Now I'm adding the bridge, and I'm actually cut this a little bit smaller than the piece is originally, and this will be right in the middle of those two holes. Then I'm taking the violin and I'm putting it onto my stamping platform. And I have like a Sizzix, removable sticky sheet on there, so this sticks very nicely. And then I'm placing my stamp, and I also tape the top, the scroll. I tape this away so no ink will touch this. And I'm using my powder tool, and I'm really powdering this the piece. And as you can see, the stamp I'm placing it has a little marking where the bridge is, and this should match up with the marking on the violin. And you can see that it stands a little bit on top, so that's why I did the masking with my tape. So when this is stamped, and I do that very carefully, making sure everything has ink, the strings. And then I am using my gold embossing powder. That is also from the kit. And I'm adding this to the top. And this will give me the strings. Then I'm removing that tape, and then I'm attaching my chin rest. And the chin rest is very close to the bottom piece, to that black bottom piece. And it has like a curve, so you can actually very easily see where it has to be attached. Now for my bow here, because this is such a really fine die cut, I cut it out twice, and then I glued this, I stacked this on top of each other, so it just has more stability. And then I'm using my glossy accent, and I'm adding glossy accents to my tuning pins, to the scroll on the top, and then to the chin rest. That will give it more dimension. And I also give a little bit to that bottom part here. And then I let this dry, and that will make the violin. Now let's move on to the guitar. So the same here, I cut 2 pieces of the body, and I cut this inlay piece that goes next to the hole of the guitar, and I cut 2 times this little piece that will be the attaching the strings. Now here what I did, I used my scissors and I cut away the tuning pins on the wood pattern paper. And I also use my ink here, the medium brown, and give this guitar a nice dimension. And then in this set is this little circle, and that little circle will cut a hole into the middle of the guitar. And now for this, every guitar or every classical guitar has this rosette around the circle, and this was not provided in the die set. You could certainly draw this in with a pen, but I decided to use a die that I have in my stash, and it's just a little circle die from one of my Spellbinders kits that fits perfectly. And I'm cutting out a little golden rosette that I can place around the little opening here. Now I'm masking off the sides of the guitar and also the head, and I'm using the darkest ink that comes in the kit, and I'm coloring in the fingerboard. And then I'm using again the other ink and color in the head a little bit darker so it matches the body. And once this is done, I'm gluing this to the back piece, to the black cardstock. I'm matching this up carefully, and here you can see how the tuning pins on the top have now a black color, and here I'm adding the inlay, and then I'm adding my rosette on top of it around the subgone. That really makes it look like a classical guitar. Then I'm stacking up those two little pieces to make it just more durable, and I'm adding it to the literally in the middle of the belly here, the bigger part of the guitar. And then I'm adding my glossy accent to my inlay piece. And also to my tuning pins on the top. And then I let this dry. Now once it's dry, you don't have a sticky feeling. I'm using a guitar and I'm starting to make my strings. And for that, first I'm adding my, with a black marker, I'm marking off the fingerboard. And then I'm just using this kind of like a beigey golden colored sewing thread, and I'm using an embroidery needle, and I'm literally using the holes at the top of the headpiece and attaching those strings, so the thread with a knot, the double knot on the back, securing that. And bringing that thread to the front, and this will give me my first string. And I'm doing this with all 6 strings. So in the end I'm having this headpiece and having the strings hanging to the side. Then I'm cutting this to size, and then I'm using my glossy accent, and I'm adding a little bit of glossy accent to the top and then also to the bottom on that little bridge there. And then I'm pulling my threads on top and making sure it kind of sticks to the glossy accent, and hold this in place with the acrylic block. And then I'm using my embroidery needle and I'm detangle the strings. So they are kind of next to each other. Now this is a little, you need to be patient with this. This takes a little time to get this exactly how I want it, but in the end it should look like this. And then I'm adding another layer of glossy accent in order to let that glue in place. And I'm doing the same on the top part, just a little bit, so not all the threads are sitting on one. And the glossy accent is really helping with this. And once this is dry, I'm just cutting my strings off here. And there is the guitar. I'm adding a little bit of glossy accent just to the top. and to the bottom again, just to make it really tight. And here are the guitar and the violin. So I hope this was helpful for you, and hopefully you give it a try. It certainly takes some time to put this together, but I think it's worth it. Well, I see you in my next video. Until then, bye!